Welcome back. There's a few things I need to get in your brain as far as sampling is concerned. Much of your training will give you some value as to what sampling is, but there's different levels of sampling that need to happen based on what's going on. So for example, if you're playing home inspector, you're basically just going to do one test or one sample, and you're probably going to take that from the cold air return. You can get up to 3 samples on one test. You're going to do that from the cold air return, 100 square centimeters there. You're going to do another one from the furnace, preferably upstream of the filter. That's your second one, 100 square centimeters there. And of course, you're going to, with each sample, you're going to go 5 times this way and then 5 times this way. And then when you do your new sample, you're going to put that on a clean surface. So you're going to take the first one, fold it over, work on the new surface, fold it over again, work on another new surface, and now you got the 3 samples. So the second one is your furnace. The third one can be pretty much anywhere in the house, and you're going to have to play sleuth there. And, you know, if you think maybe, in most cases, the lab or the use happened in the deepest, darkest corner of the house. There's one where I saw that you could actually walk into the attic. You could go upstairs, there's a master bedroom, and from there you go into the closet and you go into the attic space. And that's where the lab was set up in that particular house. If it's use, in many cases, that happens down in the basement somewhere in a dark corner. Or, you know, I've seen, I mentioned earlier the house with the Steinway piano, and in that case, the heaviest contamination that was not in the HVAC system was actually in the master bedroom. You ought to be aware of a term called hotboxing, and the idea is that the hotter the room is, the better the high is. So in many cases, somebody will go into the laundry room where it's warmer, and they'll shoot up there or smoke it or whatever they're going to do, and then they'll have their high in that room. Or sometimes they'll go into the bathroom and turn on the shower so that the area gets hotter. And so if you suspect hot boxing in a place like that, then maybe you're going to sample that as your third location. So you got the 3 samples, you put that in the tube that is provided to you by presumably ALS. I like ALS, but it's the only one in my state, and I don't want to send it outside the state. It just slows things down, and ALS is very good at customer service. So for me, ALS is the default, but if you got another lab that's close to you, then of course, you know, that's your decision. So you've got that sample, it goes into the lab, and that is what happens if you are basically playing home inspector. Now, by contrast, and depending on what county you are in and what their requirements are, sometimes there can be, for example, maybe there was a bust, or maybe somebody is, maybe it's already suspected for whatever reason. In that case, you don't have to do a full clearance test, and we're going to talk about what a full clearance test is a little bit later on. But if there's already some suspicion, you call the county, and in many cases what they will do is they will recommend that you do a few samples. And what a few samples means is you're going to do 1 in the HVAC, 1 on each major level. So if you got a rambler with a basement, you're going to do HVAC, main floor, basement, and then you're going to do a 4th one, which is a sample blank. And so you're going to have 4 samples for this one. Sample blanks are stupid, but they're required by most counties, or by many counties, so that your sample set is considered to be proper. And so that's what kind of an in-between sample set might look like. If there's suspicion, but it's not known or whatever, then you might want to go with that. But you're going to have to communicate with the county to see if they're going to be okay with that first. By contrast, now we have what's called a full clearance test. And a full clearance test is going to be 3 samples, wall, ceiling, and floor of each room. And, you know, I'm going to spend some time on what the definition of a room is, but each room plus another one at your kitchen appliances. And again, if you go over 4 in the kitchen, you're going to need to do 2 sample sets for kitchen appliances, plus your washer and dryer, unless those are going to be thrown out. Obviously, anything you throw out, or anything that's gone, doesn't have to be sampled. But you know, that's a business decision that you and the homeowner have to make. So you've got each of the rooms plus the kitchen appliances plus the washer and dryer plus the HVAC plus at least one sample blank, depending on how many. Now, Utah state laws call for a sample blank for every 10. And for a while, Salt Lake County was requiring another sample blank if you got past about 13. And since then, they have relaxed that requirement, and they basically just say, you know, if you got 20 or whatever samples, you still only have to have one blank. So that's what a full clearance test looks like. Now, rooms that are not a room. For example, and one of the things that Salt Lake County will do is they'll say if there's a door, then there's a room. But closets have a door, but they're still not a room. Small storage rooms are not a room, depending on, again, who the county representative is. A laundry room is a room, so you've got to do a couple of sample sets. You've got to sample the washer and dryer, and you have to sample the laundry room. And if you have the furnace in there, you got to sample that too. So you can actually get a lot of samples going in there. And the fact that you sampled the room doesn't mean that you don't have to sample the washer and dryer or the furnace or whatever. If you've got hallway closets, those are not a room. And, you know, if you have little storage areas that are small, maybe they don't have windows, maybe they don't have electrical plugs, those may or may not be considered to be a room, and sometimes you can not have to sample those. If you have, for example, a crawl space, those are not a room, and those don't have to be sampled. Similarly, attics are also not rooms, and they don't have to be sampled as well. So that's what sampling looks like. You've got different levels depending on what's going on in the house. If you just finished a remediation, chances are that the county is going to require you to do the full clearance test, which is, like I say, every room plus the washer and dryer plus the kitchen appliances plus the sample blank plus the HVAC. Now, there are some counties where full clearance test, even after a remediation, is not required, and where you're more likely to be able to get away with just doing one at the HVAC plus one on every major level and maybe a sample blank. And you're just going to have to play that by ear and talk to the county representatives and see what they require. The default would be a full clearance test, just to cover your own butt legally down the road. Okay, next segment we're going to be talking war stories, and I have a number of them. You're going to find that entertaining, I'm sure.